Our next guest made waves when he talked about the coming economic downturn, calling it the greatest depression ever. So what can we do to protect our investments? Joining me today, Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal. Gerald, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me.
So lots of ground to cover with you today, Gerald. Let's start with some of the news this week, which will tie into your thoughts about the greatest depression, the Fed lowering rates as markets expected. Do you see this at all as positive news?
Well, it's positive for the equity markets and for the huge debt that corporations are taking in to keep expanding. But on the negative end, they're building up more debt into the already over $250 trillion debt bubble. So what it is, I call it monetary methadone. They're just shooting in more money to keep the addicted bull running. It's not boosting economies around the world. We're looking at a global slowdown, and the numbers are there. And even people like, the IMF, the World Bank, one after another, are warning of recession. Matter of fact, Ray Dalio, the head of the largest hedge fund in the world, Bridgewater Associates, he's following what we've been saying. First, we came out this past June and talked about the beginning of the gold bull run when gold was $1,332 an ounce. And he came out 2 weeks later and said he was bullish on gold. Remember, this is the head of the largest hedge fund in the world. And then just a few weeks ago, he's worried about a Great Depression.
Yep.
So the people see it. And again, it's just artificially being boosted by central banks injecting more cheap money, lowering interest rates. And now we have the Federal Reserve. What? We're not going to call it quantitative easing. We're going to make up another story. We're pumping in $60 billion a month to buy treasuries. Oh, and by the way, $120 billion a day into the repo markets.
So I have a quote for you here. Janet Yellen, as you know, former Fed chair, has said that two things kill off an economic expansion: financial imbalances and the Fed. So do you agree with her that the Fed may be wrong and may actually expedite the coming recession?
No, what the Fed is doing is they're trying to hold it back by pumping this cheap money in. But it's only temporary. You're seeing housing sales go back up, mortgage refis go back up because the money is cheap. But the earnings aren't there. The debt levels for the consumers are getting heavier and heavier. So it's artificially propping it up, just like it did since the panic of '08. It hasn't filtered back to society. It's only gone to the 1%. And I'm not making that number up. You have 3 people in the United States, Bezos, Buffett, and Gates, have more money than half of America's population. And then you go around the world, according to the Oxfam Institute, what do they have? 26 people have more dough than half the world's population combined. So no, it's not working. It's only making it worse.
So let's play out this scenario, Gerald, because you have said the next recession would be worse than the Great Depression. How are you protecting yourself, and where should investors go as a safe haven? I'm pretty sure you're going to say gold, but what else?
Well, I can't give financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but speaking for myself, I call it guns, gold, and a getaway plan. Gold is number one. And that doesn't mean, one of the things that I learned, took me a lot of years to learn, is that when things collapse, it doesn't collapse everywhere and at every level. And then things start coming back. So when the collapse happens, it's time to wait and look. But there's 7.5 billion people on the planet. Not everybody's going to go down. So there's going to be opportunities as well. But for me, speaking only for myself, gold is the number one investment. And I've been saying that since I began buying gold in 1970.
So are you all in gold right now, Gerald?
Yes.
Physical?
Both. Because I have, retirement things. I put in, IRA, the GLD ETFs.
Okay. How about any of the other precious metals, silver, platinum, palladium?
Yeah, I have some silver, but gold is my priority. I have 2/3 gold.
I also want to get your thoughts on what we're seeing on a global scale here, Gerald. We were having a conversation offline before, no shortage of countries here: Ecuador, Chile, Algeria, Lebanon, Colombia. Have you ever seen in your lifetime this many uprisings happening? And what is this signaling?
It's signaling the people have had it. Again, the money's gone to the 1%. When people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it, and they're losing it. And this is part of the Greatest Depression. It's a stage one. It's already happened. Millions of people taking to the street, protesting that they don't have enough money to live while they're getting higher taxes, costing more for everyday living. So they've had it. And very important, this is extremely important. All of these movements don't have leaders. Whether it's Hong Kong, whether it's Spain, whether it's Lebanon, what's going on in Iraq with the massive demonstrations, Ecuador, Chile, Bolivia, Colombia, one after another, no leaders, because the people feel it. And this is part of the Greatest Depression. When we say it's going to get worse, when the Great Depression hit, there were 2 billion people on the planet. We've added 5.5 billion more. They're out of work. They're living in poverty, violence all around them, corruption. So this thing is exploding.
And while this is happening, I want to know if you think there's a correlation here. We've seen Bitcoin take off once again. Do you feel that people are looking or desperate for other forms of currency here, of alternatives to their currency?
Absolutely. And there's the people that don't believe in gold or silver or other precious metals, and they're going into cryptocurrencies. And again, you're going to start seeing it increase, particularly as economies go down, their currencies weaken, inflation skyrockets. Why wouldn't you want to have an alternative to a digital currency of a state backed by nothing and printed on nothing with huge amounts of debt load on top of you?
All right, let's bring it back home here. Gerald, we brought this up the last time when there was talk about the impeachment. Latest news right now, the House just passed a resolution formalizing the impeachment inquiry into President Trump. I know last time you said this is just all a massive waste of time. Have you changed your tune?
No, it's a sick joke. I mean, first of all, what has he done? I'm no Trump fan. I can't stand what he's doing, in his foreign policy with Iran and Venezuela and a lot of other things. But what did he do? He wanted to find out how dirty was the Biden deal. His little boy Hunter gets 50 grand a month, makes $3 million, and knows nothing about anything about the industry, Burisma Energy, or the oil business. So yeah, Trump wants to use it as a leverage to win the presidential reality show. Is this an impeachable offense? How about an impeachable offense starting wars based on lies? Let me tell you something. That Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction and ties to al-Qaeda. The big issues are ignored. It's the presidential reality show, and it's the Democrats against the Republicans as I see it.
I think I'm going to leave viewers with that thought from you, Gerald. Always appreciate your passion and your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you for all that Kitco does to keep the people ahead of the trends and on top of the news.
All right, thank you so much, Gerald. We will see you real soon, and we will be back tomorrow.